And of course, you had the US Turning Point event happening at the same time, which seems to me emblematic of two completely different Americas that we have right now.
Well, sort of, except for, I mean, the Turning Point event, and I had Andrew Colvett on my show tonight, who was the Turning Point USA spokesman, one of the people that helped organize this. They expect, now check this out, they expect potentially 20 to 30 million people to have watched it when the final tallies come in, and they're actually, according to him, he said they're bringing in an independent sort of accounting forensic kind of firm to do the numbers so that they don't get criticized for counting their own number. But bottom line is, if you guess that a Super Bowl gets between, say, 120 and 140 million people, that's about, potentially a quarter to a third of the audience that turned, like I did, off the Super Bowl at halftime and went to another show. That's look, that's real money. That's a real impact on advertisers that bought that. But here's to answer your question, the Bad Bunny halftime show really wasn't about celebrating America. It wasn't in English. The Turning Point USA halftime show wasn't about promoting one side or another. It was patriotic. Kid Rock talked about Jesus and following him. It was actually just a good show. And I think that was in sharp contrast to not just Bad Bunny, but at the beginning of the Super Bowl, they had Brandi Carlile sing God Bless America. And she said, I want to send a message to LGBTQ communities and marginal. They all had to send a message. They couldn't just be about the country and about a great game and a great evening. And that's the difference. One side wants to promote something. The other side, my side, just wants to actually have a good show and a pleasant evening.
Well, speaking of division and sending messages, multiple US athletes at the Winter Olympics have called out the Trump administration over ICE and his policies on trans issues. A skier, Hunter Hess, said he had, quote unquote, mixed emotions about representing America on the world stage while he's wearing the American uniform. And of course, those comments prompted President Trump to label him, quote, a real loser. Why do these Olympians think they can say these kinds of things when they're representing America on the world stage?
Well, here's the sad part. They can. Our country gives everyone the freedom of speech, but it's a sad state when you seek and work really hard to represent America. If you want to, in your sport, go enter the world championships of whatever sport you're involved in, good for you. That's on you. But when you seek to represent the United States, to carry our flag, to wear our uniform, as you aptly noted, then it's a very different thing. The Olympics are about representing the country, not yourself. If you don't like the country, if you don't want to represent it, don't do it. Go somewhere else. Compete in the world championships. But no one's forcing you to do this. And this is what I found really odd about it. If he's so disgusted by the United States, then don't represent the United States. We've got plenty of people that are proud in this country to represent our country, that are proud of our country. And I think the irony is that anyone who had 2 seconds of media training could have answered that question better than he did.
Tell me what you think about Donald Trump branding Olympians like Hunter Hess losers. Is that helpful, do you think, or is Trump better just to sit this one out and let people make up their own minds about the Olympians' behavior?
Well, I've given up giving him advice a long time ago. It's pretty on brand for Trump. He doesn't sit back and let people just take pot shots without fighting, without punching back. That's him. That's his style. If it were me, I would have just let it roll off my shoulder, but I'm not him and he's not me. This is what makes Donald Trump unique, is that he doesn't just let things fly off the shelf without getting noticed. He punches back, So look, what he and I would do are probably two different things, but this is who he is. He's become president twice now. So I'm not going to try to give him advice on how to respond.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Speaking of punching back, Trump's got to decide whether to pull his punches or not in regards Iran. Now, he's meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tomorrow to discuss next steps. What do you think will come from these talks?
It's a great question because this is not an easy answer. You've got a country which is very unstable with nuclear weapons. So there's no simple answer here. I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu moved up his trip because he really wanted to get in the president's ear sooner rather than later. There's a lot of concern about what regime change would lead to. And again, it's not just regime change, as we kind of quasi did in Venezuela. You're talking about a place with nuclear weapons that's not the most stable place in the world, that could potentially strike back. You don't know what they would do with the weaponry, and so this is a very, very precarious situation. If I had to guess, I would say that the president goes in and does surgical strikes to take out key military assets in Iran, but limits it to that because there's no real I mean, the problem that I keep when people ask me this question is I think what happens when the president goes into the Situation Room, they generally present him with multiple courses of action. And they'll say, we could do this, this, and this. That's the easy part. The hard part comes down to what's next. After you bomb this, after you strike this, what happens? Will there be retaliatory strikes? Who takes over, who becomes in power? Those are all real serious questions the president of the United States has to deal with. So it's easy to say he should just do this. It's quite harder to answer the then what question. And I think that's why I could see him doing very limited surgical strikes into Iran where you're focused on just taking out military capabilities.
Well, certainly the whole world will be watching to see what the next steps are. Sean Spicer, it's always a delight to speak with you. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.